their companies.
Since I'm already off of mute, I'll go ahead and go first. My name is Holly Dimmitt. I am up here in Charlotte, North Carolina. We also have an office in Spartanburg. I'm with Management Insights. I'm the VP of Accounting, but I also double and wear the HR hat for ourselves as well as many of our clients.
Okay, thank you. Rico.
Hey, I'm Rico Simpson. I'm a senior talent acquisition specialist here in Greenville with United Community Bank. I have right now 150 positions that I'm trying to fill, so staying very busy and appreciate the invite.
All right. Thank you both for being here. And Sherry,
Well,
welcome.
I'm Sherry Goff. I'm the HR manager at Fraser Industrial Company in Lamar, South Carolina. We're a manufacturing outfit, and we have right now about 165 employees. And I just went through a huge hiring past 2 months, huge hiring mode, and so right now I'm kind of winding down from that.
Well, good. Thank you. And that's a good thing because you're from near my hometown down in Marion. So
Yes.
I'm glad that there is hiring going on.
Well, we actually have people from Marion that work for us.
Uh-huh. Well, good. Thank you. And
You're
thank you
welcome.
all for being here today. Um, First, I have some information that I'd like to share before we get started. We currently have students who are still in class now, so you may not see a lot of students on this webinar, but the information will be recorded and shared with our students. If the students who are online now, if you have any questions, if you put those in the chat, and we'll have our panelists to respond to those at the end. Also, at the end of our webinar, we will have a survey that's posted for students, and we'd like you to complete that, please, to let us know how beneficial the webinar was to you. So we're going to get started now, and I'll start my first question. And what I'll do is I'll just ask the question. If anyone wants to jump in, you can do that. If not, if you want to raise your hand, I can call you based on that. So if you want to just follow up, one person answer, the other one's follow up, that's fine. So my first question, what makes an applicant stand out in a large pool of applicants? All right, Sherry.
Um, I go through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of applications for different positions, and I'm sure the other HR people do too. What stands out to me is the professionalism of the document itself, but also obviously the information that's in it. I get a lot of applications where I get a lot of resumes where the resumes are not updated. So it might go up to like 2023, and then I'm left to try to figure out what they've done for the past 2 years. And so unless I see something that really makes me want to call them anyway, I don't even bother, because I think if they can't put the effort into updating a resume, then how serious are they going to be about a job? Um, so I like good references. I like having the opportunity to talk to that person in person as well. If I do bring them in, that can tell you a lot about a person when you meet face to face as well. But a good resume, an updated resume, and with pertinent information that is directed to the position itself. And that's what helps me make a decision on bringing them in or not.
And I can kind of piggyback off of that. So I'm looking for the resumes, not the job description. That's what you're supposed to do. I'm looking for your accomplishments on the resume. I tell the resume is a ticket to the dance. So that's what's going to get you in the door, get a phone call. So I'm also looking for what you accomplished on these positions in detail, not not, I'll call it not the normal Google um, things as far as like I get along with people and any of that, none of that nonsense. I'm looking for what you accomplished in that position and how it's going to correlate to the position that you're applying for. So kind of similar.
And I'm going to echo that again. Tailoring it to the job is really, really important. You need to know what you're applying for. So that means you may have to change your resume between job applications because you want to make sure it's directed. I would also add to that no typos or mistakes. And then also in the age of AI and using tools like Indeed has a tool that allows you to create a resume, take the time to tweak it and make it customized. It doesn't have to be super fancy with super marketing things, but if it looks like it just spat out of an AI tool or an Indeed tool, then that means you didn't take the time to pay attention to what you're doing and how it matches the job. So take that extra time.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Was there another response? Thank you for those responses. That was really good information and information that we do share with students when we are doing mock interviews with them and reviewing their resumes. So thank you. Our next question, how can an applicant show they're reliable and ready for the workforce?
I'll chime in. So I can usually tell by how they come to me. So ready for the workforce, I hire a lot of welders. We also certify all of our welders. So it doesn't matter if Joe had certification from a technical college, for instance, because we do a lot of work with Florence Darlington Tech. But we have to recertify them. So I suspect, or the way I look at it is when they come to me and how I know they're ready is they're prepared. They're prepared. They have their steel toes. They have their weld hood. They have whatever else they prefer to use as a welder. We provide PPE and a lot of things for them. But I cannot tell you how many times I've had somebody come in for a weld test or for a weld interview. They don't have a welding hood. And this would just happen last week. Well, I can go buy one. I'm like, really? Because you were told ahead of time that you had to have one. And some people don't come in with steel toes. It's like they're coming in for an interview, but they're not ready for it. So I also look at attendance. How is your attendance at your other jobs? Tell me why did you leave job A to go to job B? I want to know the background. I want to know the history of why they left this job and that job. And if they've had a bazillion jobs, that tells me a lot. If they've not been in a place for a year, I mean, you couldn't even stay a year, then that tells me they're probably not going to stay a year with us. And I look for long-term longevity for the people that we hire. Turnover is a big problem with a lot of places, and we have our share of it as well. So that pretty much answers how I know they're ready, because they come in ready.
All right, Rico.
I'm looking at the enthusiasm. I'm looking at when they arrive. I'm a veteran, so I don't believe in being on time. So if you're on time, you're late. And if something happens, and communication, how well do you communicate if something does come up? Nothing's perfect, but just the communication, being prompt, and being excited, knowing something about the company. I know people apply for a lot of different companies and they know nothing about them. So do your homework and have some information about the company. Because I always ask, why United? I'm just looking for the answer that they give me. And surprisingly, people say, "Hey, I just need a job." I appreciate your honesty, but you don't know anything about the company you're applying for. So do a little homework. Doesn't take much, and that's going to show how much, probably what type of employee you're going to be. if you're showing that enthusiasm and being proactive during the interview process.
All right. Thank you so much for those responses. That was really helpful. My next question, what advice do you have for applicants who don't meet all the listed qualifications? Should they still apply? All right.
So the way I look at it is, and in our industry, we're a steel industry. We work with stainless steel every day. That's what we do. And so if somebody, like Rico just said, if they come in and they're real gung-ho and they're excited and they have some experience, but they don't need everything, they don't meet all the requirements. But if they show initiative, if they, if they're excited, we can train some aspects of the job. If they're a machine handler or a machine operator or a CNC operator, yeah, they've probably had a lot of, hopefully they've had a lot of experience, but you've not worked on our machines.
Mhm.
So either way, they're going to go through training. Same with welding, same with material handling and everything else. So it depends on the person. It depends on their personality and their drive. And I will give them a chance if I find that. If they've got some kind of background, I wouldn't take anyone just off the street that's all happy and has a lot of energy and exuberance, but I would be willing to train the right person.
All right.
Um,
Holly?
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that, and I agree. A lot of this has to do with having the right person in the right job. And one of the ways that you can do that is to use one of her words, and this is what I've gotten written down already, is the initiative. So even if you don't have all of the exact skill set, if you can show that you've taken initiative, whether in a past job or for students that maybe don't have a lot of job experience, even in projects. So if they took the initiative to be the lead on a team project, or they took the initiative as part of a club to do something, they show that drive that they're willing to commit to something and get it to completion. And that's something that really is helpful to see, especially if you have little experience. I'm going to use a little bit of the veteran experience. My first civilian job, my military job, had nothing to do with my first civilian job, but because I had developed training manuals in my military job, that's what kicked me over the finish line way back too many decades ago. So that type of initiative of doing something unique and different, but shows that you are willing to do what it takes to make improvements or get something completed, is what helps.
All right. Thank you. Our next question, what kind of questions should an applicant ask during an interview? What
I can
kind of
tell you what they
questions do
shouldn't
you
ask.
expect? Yeah.
But they shouldn't ask. If the first
You
word
can
out of their mouth is, "What does this job pay?" then I'm a little hesitant, because what that could possibly tell me is they don't care. They just want to know how much money they can make,
Mhm.
and doesn't give me a whole lot of background in previous jobs. I have had people just come in and say, "Well, what does it make?" Or they'll ask me over the phone, if I do a phone interview, "What does it make?" And I said, "I'll talk about that if we meet face to face in an interview." But questions to ask, obviously, if you've done your homework, like Rico said, well, then you know what questions to ask. I mean, if you're in there for a specific position and you've done your homework, then that should lead you to the right questions to ask. But obviously, most, at least down here, a lot of people don't do their homework. And then I'll ask, if you have questions, please let me know. Blah, blah, and at the end, I'll say, "Do you have any questions?" And no, I'm good right now. And I'm like, okay. So they should ask questions, but the questions should be directed towards the about the company or about the specific position.
I know for me, I would always ask, why is this position open? Um, because I'm looking for, someone took a promotion. So to me, there's opportunity for growth. We're adding a position, so there's still stability in the company. Also, what does the first 90 days look like? What are we expecting in the first 90 days? I know we have 90-day reviews, so what's expected of the candidate in the first 90 days. So you kind of get a idea of what you'll be doing, what you'll be measured on, and everything. So those are just a couple, but I always encourage them to do their homework and ask questions.
Okay. Holly?
I agree with all of those, and we've seen those in our interviews, and those really prompt really good responses. But another one that we've seen a lot lately, especially for those that have done their homework on our website, is they'll ask us what we like about the job and what we do, or about the company, and they may tailor it to something they found on the website. But that's been actually a common one that they've asked in recent interviews. And as long as they're, especially if they're tailoring it to the website, something that they've already seen, that shows that they care about the company and they want to really see if it's a good cultural fit. So what Sherry said earlier about finding the right person, that shows they're also trying to determine if they're the right person or that we're the right company for them. And that helps make a good marriage, if you will, of employee to employer at that point.
Right. I like
Thank
that.
you. Thank you. Because those are all questions that I use in my mock interviews, give them the students the same reasoning. So it is good to hear that. But I would also like to add, what do you think of students who don't have questions to ask? What do you think when a person doesn't have questions to ask? What does that tell you?
To me, it tells me that, critical thinking is a part of what I look for. Can you solve a problem? Show me how have you solved problems in the past? But if they say nothing, either A, they haven't prepared for the interview, they haven't gone to the website, they haven't done and actually they just haven't done their homework. I ask questions, but I don't prompt questions from them. I ask if they have any.
Mhm.
But if a lot of people don't, they don't have questions. And maybe they're shy, maybe they've got 3 other interviews that day besides you. And I just think that if they're prepared, they'll ask questions if they know what they're talking about.
All right. Anyone else?
I think the other thing is that it's not a guarantee because, like she said, they could be shy. But more often than not, if they're not asking questions, then they're a person that kind of has to be led by every single thing that they do. And in our company and many of our clients, we provide a lot of training. So it's not that they're going to have to be independent the second they walk in the door, but I do
Right.
want to know that 6 months down the line, I don't have to be with them side by side every step of the way, that they can be slightly independent in the job that we've assigned.
Okay.
So having at least one intelligent question is a good sign. You don't have to have 50. One good question is enough to get the conversation going.
I agree.
Okay, good. Rico, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so just give me that enthusiasm. I want the realness. I can multitask. I want you to tell me you guys spend a lot of money on Indeed and ZipRecruiter. You can cancel that today because I'm your hire. So I'm looking for that, I'm looking for that enthusiasm because this interview is about you. So like if you don't have any questions, like that's a red flag for me because you have to have something, for me. Because definitely, you're interviewing me also. Do you really want to work here?
Right. Right.
I need to convince you this is the place to be. So it's a two-way street, but I'm definitely looking for that enthusiasm.
Okay, good. Thank you. Moving right along, and that moves into our next question. What is one red flag that would cause you hesitation in considering an applicant? Holly, would you want to start?
Yeah. So one of the ones we've had recently, and this is could apply in a more manufacturing environment, but if they walk in the door immediately asking about remote,
Oh,
I want to stop right there. Especially like for us, we flat out tell everybody it's an in-person job, but I've had that happen. And
Wow.
although those options, especially if you're in an office environment, may be open to you later, that's a privilege and that's a perk that's usually nowadays earned, provided we don't have another incident, like 2020. But that's usually an earned thing because we need to see how you work
Yeah.
and see that you can do the job. And then we'll entertain that if it's applicable to your position.
all right.
Okay.
Sherry?
So if person comes in, what I look at immediately is I look at their posture. I've had people that come in our waiting area and they're like slouched way down in the chair. They got their cell phone in their hand and they're waiting for their interview. To me, that's very unprofessional. They don't have to dress up. These are blue collar jobs, but they have to be clean. I mean, I don't want to look like a total slob. So the first impressions that I get from them kind of lean me one way or the other. Sometimes I'm surprised once I get them into the interview. You never know what's going on with somebody in their personal life. But I do believe that they have to show a good amount of some professionalism, some decent way of coming to an interview, how you look, make sure you've got clean hair. I mean, it's just a matter of first impression. You can't, what is it that you can't, first impression is not going to be made again. Whatever your first impression is the impression you have.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, Rico, do you have anything to add? Well, you gave me your if you want to add something else, another red flag, or we can go with that one.
I know for me, when we do have a candidate, I will actually email them a copy of the STARS interviewing method. Because one thing, just the lack of detail, even if you work at Burger King, upselling a apple pie, if you do that 30 times a day, how much is that a year? That you can get really in detail with any position you've ever had. So just trying to pull that information out of them about what they do on their position, that's just a red flag, just not being prepared or not being able to communicate that what they do on their position. So
Okay, thank you. We do share that with students as well. So I know we're getting close to our time, so I'm gonna throw out some of the questions that are being asked in the chat. Do you prefer, and if they came to the career center, they would know this, but do you prefer references be listed on the resume or to list that they can be provided upon request? Also, how important is a one-page resume to you?
I don't need 10 pages. I mean, especially if you go on Indeed, you can list all the stuff you've had even an inkling of experience with. I take those, take them out immediately. I don't care about if we're in the steel industry that you were a CNA at a hospital. It has nothing to do with this job. I want something concise. I want something that's going to give me insight. I want consistency in jobs or job. But I will say I would prefer a 1 or 2 page. I just don't need to know that you were the coach of your high school basketball teams, whatever. That's nice, but I don't need that. So that's how I feel. I want to say to Rico and to Holly, I prefer veteran resumes. You know what I find, and this is we just hired an inventory specialist who was a Marine. He's out now, but I find that many of the veterans are organized, they have critical thinking skills, they know how to talk to people and to supervise in a positive manner. And then if it's not a positive situation, they try to turn it into something that is positive. And yeah, I've had a lot of luck with getting some good veterans on board.
Okay. Now, our next question, and whoever can answer these questions, I'm not going to go around and ask you all to answer. The next question, if an associate's degree is almost obtained, but currently attending school, would you want the degree finished before applying for the job?
I'll answer that, and I think for everybody it will depend on the job, but I can say not necessarily for our end.
Okay.
Because again, it goes down to what can you show me that you have on skill sets? Did you
There you
show
go.
up to class regularly? Did you do any projects that you took the lead on? Did you take some time to be part of some extracurricular club that you volunteered at? And again, don't do 20 clubs. You want to do something that shows that you can have some focus and really highlight the specific things that you've achieved, to what Rico said about really being detailed on, hey, this is what would make me a good candidate for this position.
Okay.
Great.
Thanks, Holly. The next question, how should we bring up salary and negotiations? At what point should we do that?
I have a given chart of what I pay for different positions. So, and if they go on Indeed, I put the range in there. I don't put a specific, I put a range. And so a lot of times, especially if it's an Indeed, somebody off Indeed, they've already seen what the range is. But I don't bring it up until after I decide if A, I want to bring them back for a second interview, or B, I don't want a second interview, or I don't want to hire that person. But when I decide that it is somebody I want to bring on board, I will bring it up.
Thank you, Sherry. That was good. And this has all been so good. I wish it could last longer, but we only have 30 minutes set aside for it. And thank you for confirming for us what we do, because all this information is what we share with students when we're working with them. So is nothing new for us here in the Career Center, but it's information that's really needed for our students, and to hear it from an employer's perspective is really important. So we thank you all for being here today. We asked our students to be sure and complete the survey before that has also been placed in the chat.
Okay.
So thank you all for being here
Thank
today.
you.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anytime.
Good to be
Thank
here.
you.
Take care.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.